This is the Slow Wardrobe. Come and have a look.
Hello, welcome to episode 110 of the Slow Wardrobe podcast. My name is Linda and I'm your host. In this episode, I have started with a shortish section on my knitting and crochet antics of the last 2 weeks, followed by quite a long piece of Layercake introducing 5 new colors for the love dress, the linen love dress. I'm actually wearing one of them, she's wearing another, but before we dive into that, let me first talk about my knitting and crochet in the knitting and crochet update. Right, well, I've been working almost exclusively on the same project for the last 2 weeks, and that is hanging here. It was a second test knit that I was admitted to for a test knit for Isabel Kramer again, in this case for a very large shawl. I will pull it off her in a minute and show it to you in its full glory because it's rather a big one, but I'll tell you the story first. It is a shawl that is knitted in a unspun yarn. You may be familiar with the Icelandic yarns called Blotulopi. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing that correctly, but hopefully you know what I mean. So that's an unspun yarn, and so is this. But this is a yarn by a company called Wool Dreamers, and this is called Manchelopi. I bought it probably about 6 months ago from Tribe Yarns when they were still, I think they were still based in Richmond. I think it was just before their move, and I hadn't quite decided what to do with it yet. I bought enough to make an entire jumper out of it, and it was just sitting in my stash ever since. So when this test knit came along, I immediately reacted again. Again, I was quick enough off the mark, and I got an email a couple of days later that I was in. Now, for this big shawl, you need 3 plates of Manchelopi. A plate is basically a really big ball. If you make a ball bigger and bigger, it turns into a big disc. And that's, of course, how these are wound, because they're very poofy. And unlike Plutelopi, which is one strand of unspun yarn, it's almost like very thin roving. Roving is what you pull fiber into a very tiny thin strand before you then start spinning it. This is Manchelopi consists of 2 of those thin strands that you hold together. So it's one of those yarns that isn't really a yarn. I should have brought some with me so I can show you how easily it comes apart. You can just literally pull it apart. But when you have short enough sections that you put tension on, when you're knitting, for example, then it will stay together. So it's only when you hold a longer piece, then you can pull it apart. But on shorter lengths, obviously the staple length is long enough and it stays together well enough to knit it. So I jumped in, and this was a project with a deadline of, I think it's the middle of February. So it was quite a tight deadline, but it's also a very fast knit because you work on 6mm needles, and the end result is about 7 foot wide and 3.5 foot in depth. So it's a big one. I'll show you in a minute. But because it's 6mm needles, I was confident that I could do this quickly enough. And lo and behold, no problem. However, it's a long time since I've knitted with needles that thick. As you know, I favor thin needles, and if I'm crocheting, thin hooks as well. So it was a long time ago since I knitted with a 6mm. And I think the last time will have been, I don't know if it's even 6mm. My fairy shawl pattern is on either a 5 or a 6mm needle, but then you still work with a thin yarn on thick needles. So this was a thick yarn and thick needles, or thick fiber and thick needles. You can hardly even call it a yarn. However, once it is knitted, it forms a very sturdy fabric. It's very long wearing. And there's another thing to tell you about this. it started off as undyed yarn. I bought the Manchelope as undyed with the idea of, well, I've got some of my dyes left. Some of you may know that I used to sell dyes, all-in-one acid dyes. The start of the business was yarns and needles and knitting patterns and dyes with little dye kits that I used to sell. I've got some of those colors of dye left, and I thought, I could dye this yarn and then maybe even dye it into a gradient because of that those big plates. I could like literally drop the dye on top and allow it to seep through, and I had all kinds of wild ideas. But then when I was thinking about it, I realized that, of course, since it's unspun, you can't really manipulate it much in order to get dye in or out. So I thought, I don't know how successful that is going to be. How about I use this undyed yarn to knit this project and then I dye it afterwards. And while I was knitting it, I had another idea. I have the friend that really started all of my antics into the fiber world, which ultimately has led to the slow wardrobe, was really with me right from the beginning when it came to my dyeing kits and my dyes. She is a dyeing guru. I am not. I'm an enthusiastic amateur when it comes to dyeing, but when it comes to color blending, that's not a problem. So I thought of my friend as I was knitting this, and she has a very special birthday next month, very, very special birthday. And I, of course, was already thinking about what I could give her for her birthday. And as I was knitting this shawl, I also remembered that just before Christmas, she told me during one of the cold snaps, and actually she said, I don't think I've got any jumpers that are warm enough to wear when it's this cold, because it doesn't get very cold in the south of England very often. And that thought dropped into my head as well. And I thought, oh my gosh, this would be the perfect special birthday gift in March. And especially if I then managed to dye it with some of the dyes that we both developed very early on when I started my little business. So that's what I did. I finished the shawl and I've dyed it in this really rich royal blue color, which I know is a color that she loves. It's actually two colors on top of each other. There's a thin layer of a plummy purple, a red purple underneath, and then the royal blue over the top to give the color a little bit of extra depth. And I'm thrilled with how that has come out. Depending on how the light catches it, there is just this hint of lilac in it, which has worked a treat. So before I move on to my work in progress, I will pull this off and show it to you in all its glory. It's got a lovely textured lace pattern. Here it is. I'll put the name underneath again because I'm sure it'll be released before the end of February. So the shawl is called Much and it's by Isabel Kramer. It's gorgeous, really, really nice. And of course with the shawl, gauge is not super important. If you're a little bit tighter, a little bit looser, you just have a slight variation in the size when it's finished, as happened to mine, because when I knitted my test swatch, I was perfectly on gauge. But when I started knitting, and once you have broken your yarn a couple of times, and I have to add that whenever I broke my yarn, it was not as a result of pulling it while I was knitting, but it would be the yarn coming off the cake that would catch on something. So there was actually no reason to change my gauge, and I didn't do that consciously, but I think unconsciously, because of the yarn breaking a couple of times, I firmed up my gauge ever so slightly in a unconscious paranoia that it was going to break. So as a result, my finished shawl is slightly smaller than the original gauge asks for. And luckily, with the dyeing, it hasn't shrunken at all. It has fulled slightly, which means that the stitches form a slightly more cohesive fabric. They've really snuggled into each other very nicely. So that will only make it more hard wearing. It's a very nice together fabric as a result. It's not all over the place in terms of poofiness and floofiness. So together with the fact that it's super light, it weighs about 250 grams in total. For such a big shawl, that is not a lot. And as a result, you can just throw it over your shoulders, and because it's so light but fairly grippy, not rough but grippy, it's a woolly yarn, then it'll just stay on. So when she does a lot of weaving, so when she's weaving on her loom in her studio and it gets a bit nippy, she can throw it on over her shoulders, or in the evening when she's in the house knitting and she's cold, she can use it as a lap blanket or again over her shoulders. I hope she's going to adore it. And I'm thrilled with the present. I don't think she watches this, so hopefully it'll still be a secret by the time she's got her birthday. Anyway, I was too excited to share it with you, so I'm running the risk of her finding out early. And if that's the case, so be it. It had to be that way. That is my first project, finished within, well, how long did I take? About a week and a half in total. A little bit less still. About 8 or 9 days it took me to finish the knitting, and then I did the dyeing at the weekend, this past weekend. So that's my finished project, and now I have one work in progress to show you. I showed this to you before, my Bohemian Rhapsody, my multicolored, 75 colors no less, multicolored crocheted granny square scarf. I'm almost halfway with it. As you can see, this is the section that I'm working on at the moment. And there you have almost half a Bohemian Rhapsody. I think it's going to be stunning. It'll be something like this. The whole thing, when it's done, it'll be probably about somewhere between 5 and 6 foot in length. Probably closer to 6 foot actually. Gorgeous, I think. So, you know, I can really already imagine wearing this. Of course, it goes with everything with 75 colors in it. And as you know, if you're a Layercake watcher, then you know that I love colors that go with everything, either because they're multicolored or because they are neutral in a colorful way somehow. I won't start waxing lyrical about that now. But this is the other project that I'm working on at the moment. Then there is, of course, my Stripey jumper that I was working on, which is a strand of linen and a strand of my own Layercake linen, the 3-ply, held together with a strand of cumulus, fiber spades cumulus, and that's then knitted into a stripy jumper. I haven't touched that yet. I will start doing that again, but I'm still so enamored with this. I love this so much, and it's very easy to work on, so I can work on it when I'm watching TV and not pay much attention to what I'm doing, and it just flies off the hook. It's still very slow going, so to give you an idea, in one evening I can probably do one big square and maybe part of a small square, or a whole small or a medium square if I stay up relatively late, but that's about it. It really is that slow. Like yesterday evening, I think I did 2 medium ones and 2 small ones, and that was it for the entire evening. So it doesn't feel slow though when you're working on it. It feels quick because you only ever do one round in one color and then you change colors again. I weave everything in as I go. I hate crocheting and having to keep ends out of the way because they get caught otherwise. I don't like that. But I also like the idea that, you know, when I finish the last square, the whole thing is ready to go. That's the same with blocking. You can see, if I hold this up, you can see that only the work that I've done since yesterday is kind of crunkled up, And today I'll quickly whip it along the under the steam iron here again as well. So I steam the sections that I've crocheted on a daily basis almost, except for the weekend, of course. So the whole thing, this is actually how it will look. Complete. This is finished. And only the last section that I worked on yesterday evening needs that quick steam blast, and then it'll join the rank of completely finished sections as well. So that's it. That's all for my knitting and crochet. I am going to return to my stripy jumper probably when this is ready. I can't imagine abandoning this for the jumper. It's so engaging. It's done on a 3mm hook with a very thin lace weight. I don't even know which thickness of lace weight it is. If I can find out, I will put it here. But it's somewhere between 800 to 1200 meters per 100 grams. It's a thin lace weight, and then on a 3mm hook, so the whole thing is very lofty and light. Anyway, just to give a little shout out to Susanna from Trava and Wool. That's the little project bag that I keep this in. And these are the last 3 bags that she made for me towards the end of last year. 3 bags, all 3 made by Susanna with the Layercake linen and with these beautiful embroideries on that she does. And in this case also with handles on, because they're actually bigger bags. I asked her to go for some bigger bags that are more of a jumper weight project size, which she did. And these are the last 3 that are left. So I thought I'll just give you a quick reminder as I saw them lying here. And that's it for the first section. Let's get stuck into the love dress colors. Enjoy. Love dresses in new colors. I've called it a winter rainbow because when I lined them up, I thought actually there are quite a lot of rainbow colors in there, but darker and more muted, and of course all cross weaves. Still, I really like the name. I hope you do too. I've got the first color on here, and I have no idea how this is going to translate on camera other than just looking like a dark blue dress, because it is anything but a dark blue dress. It is a color that we've called royalty, and that's made up of teal and the purple that makes up black currant. So I'm wearing it with the black currant baggies, and just looking down the dress you can see all the black currant in there, which you then see reflected in the baggies. So if I review this recording and I see nothing of the black currant than I see when I'm wearing it, of the royalty, the teal and the black currant in there as I'm wearing it and as I am on camera, then I will try and take some photographs, maybe literally down the dress, so that you can see the colors that are in there, and I will post those right next to me here so you get a better idea. I have frayed some pieces of fabric and put those in the newsletter so that you can see what colors make up the cross weaves, but even that was not quite as clear as I wanted it. So when in doubt, of course, feel free to order some swatches. If you say, yeah, I'll order, I'd like some swatches, but I live in the UK or live in Canada, and by the time I get those swatches, the pre-order is finished, then drop me a line and I'll discuss with Andrea, I'll see if we can move the pre-order production if that's what we need to do. But without further ado, let's keep going with these colors and with the sizes. I did a size comparison in the newsletter just to show you that a bigger size doesn't necessarily swamp you. I am wearing a size 2 regular length here, which is roomy on me, And I have a couple of samples in the size 1 regular length as well. But I think that if you see me in this dress, in the size 2 regular, it's only when I open up my arms, I put my arms wide, that you can see that there's more roominess here, which of course is to accommodate a potentially bigger body. But as with all the linen, it just kind of hangs and flows with your body. And in my particular case, I'll show you that in the back as well, as I turn, with my body being on the cusp between a size 1 and a size 2 at the moment. My hips are much more sticking out and much more prominent, I mean to say, in my overall silhouette when I wear fitted clothes. And with some of the size 1 layer cakes, yes, it fits me in terms of my bust size, but if I then start moving, they'll catch on my hips. So rather than the garment skimming me, it starts to catch in places. And that actually has the opposite effect of what we're trying to achieve with the layer cakes, which is that they skim your body. And you don't have to worry about any lumps or bumps because they're all underneath the garment, and the garment just, the fabric kind of skims over it without catching. So if you have a layer cake, you've gained some weight and the garment is starting to catch, then throw over a tunic in a bigger size and the problem is solved. That goes with any of your other clothes. If you then throw on a slightly oversized layer cake, I'm not talking extremes, just one size bigger, then you may be back to a silhouette that really pleases you when you look in the mirror and that makes you feel comfortable when you sit and move around. So this is Royalty, the first color, and I'm going to be wearing that with a couple of the other colors. Some of them have been specifically requested by a viewer to see how they go with her existing layer cake collection. So I hope you find this useful if that's you. And here we go. I'm going to change the baggies, the blackcurrant baggies, into a pair of slackers. And I'm going to put on one of the large new check smocks, still keeping on this dress, so that you see how that color goes. You'll notice it's beautiful because of course the large new check has got 2 of the colors in it, the blackcurrant as well as the teal. Here it comes. Royalty dress, large new check smock, and slackers in mist. So picking up on the light colors in the large new check and complementing, making a really nice backdrop for the dress. And then the dress with the colors that are represented in the large new check in different combinations, of course. Beautiful combination. The dress, of course, gives the impression of being more blue than the colors in the smock, purely with how the cross weaves end up working in the smock. But I think it's a really, really nice combination. This is also a size 2 smock, so in terms of cutouts and in terms of how the garment sits with its bust circumference compared to the bust circumference of the dress, those are of course identical, so it skims really nicely, flows very nicely, regular length dress, about the same length as the tips of the size 2 smock. Gorgeous outfit, I think. So more colors coming through in the dresses, but also some more combinations of different existing layer cakes with the dresses. Next up is the stripy shirt and how that works with this particular dress, because of course the dress looks quite blue and there's a blue in the stripy shirt. So here it comes. Here is the same outfit but with a blue striped shirt underneath, showing you how the blue stripe goes with the dress. And of course it also happens to look really nice with those mist slackers that I'm wearing, because slackers of course are a cross weave that have undyed linen in them, and together with a medium grey And of course the stripe has got undyed linen as well as the blue. So the blue of the stripy shirt and the blue of the royalty dress, hear those words because I look as if I'm wearing a blue dress, but then of course up close you get the effect of the teal and the purple. Still, when you look up close and you see that it's teal and purple and blue, it just looks like a good surprise, but it's not like, oh, it looks fabulous together, as I hope it comes across on screen. Next outfit, I'll keep going. This one shows you two different things. First of all, how does a love tunic look worn over the top of a love dress? Works a treat, as you can see. Of course, you've got that hemline that drops in the back, a bit shorter in the front, and then you've got either a contrast or a very complementary color come peeping out underneath with the dress. In this case, this is the Damson tunic, and Damson is a cross weave of teal and a mauvey purple. And of course, royalty has got the same teal in it, so they look lovely together. But then it's cross-woven with a darker purple. So the difference between the two is a lighter purple or a darker purple in the cross weave. But in terms of how they go together, gorgeous. And of course, I could wear this love tunic underneath the dress and then have it peeping out and roll up the cuff so that you can see that slightly different tealy purple coming through on the edges of the neckline and the sleeves. But here again, you know, I've kept the shirt on so that you can see how that shirt goes with both the Damson as well as royalty. Next up, I have put on a pair of palazzos in bitter lime. This is the extra large long, lovely and roomy, of course, just as I like it. And I've put those on to kind of balance what I'm wearing on the top. This is one of the synergy dusters, i.e. dusters without sleeves that come with the option of knitting your own sleeves to go in it. But it ends up being a sleeveless duster, and the reason I'm showing this to you is that this is, except for a couple of play suits, this is just about the only garment I've got left in the large bright check. And I've definitely had questions as to how the large bright check goes with the different dress colors. So I'll feature this a couple of times just to show you the combination of the large bright check and the different dress colors. Of course, the large bright check goes with everything. That's what it's meant to do. And that's what you'll see as I sport it throughout this episode. This is the large bright check with royalty. And let me now introduce the second dress color. So the others get a little bit of limelight as well. It's not all about royalty. Second color, Fiddlehead. For those of you who have no idea what a fiddlehead is, I didn't know that a fiddlehead was called such. But do you know with ferns, the tip of the new leaf, when it is completely curled up, it looks like the top of a violin. Violin, fiddle, fiddlehead, top of a violin. Isn't that cool? Once I knew that, I definitely couldn't resist calling this fiddlehead. But where I was coming from is that the color of this dress and the color impression it gives from a distance reminds me of those fresh green tips of unfurling ferns. So hence the name. I'm wearing it here still with the same palazzos that I had on before. So it's the bitter lime palazzos. It's a large bright check synergy duster, long synergy duster, and wearing that with the fiddlehead dress. Now fiddlehead is a cross weave of the blue that is in Magpie and Chartreuse. And of course the blue and the yellow together make this beautiful fresh green. But because the blue is the Magpie, it goes with all the different colors in the Layercake rainbow that have a cross weave of Magpie in them. And of course there are a whole bunch of them. So I will show this with some complementary colors and then with some contrasts. And the first complementaries that I'll show this dress with is of course Chartreuse in two different guises. The Chartreuse also is a really nice contrast color to wear with the royalty dress that I just took off. Of course, that bluey green of the dress, and then whack some Chartreuse up against it is a gorgeous contrast. But I've got so many to get through with 5 different dress colors that I've tried to rationalize at least a little bit which colors I show together. I hope that makes sense. But first of all, here comes some more Chartreuse on top of Fiddlehead. Here is a short Chartreuse duster and a pair of baggies in the Chartreuse herringbone. And of course that looks a lot lighter because the herringbones are all cross weaves of a color, in this case Chartreuse, together with undyed linen. And of course that lightens the color of whatever you cross weave it with. And in this case you get this beautiful soft color that of course is still very recognizable from the dress worn with it, because they have this color in common, of course. Then you can say, okay, well, I'll put on something this Chartreuse, then Fiddlehead, and then I'll wear that together with something that is pure Magpie. Of course, that's another wonderful combination, because then you're pulling all of those colors together, even though the Chartreuse and the Magpie, the dark Magpie, of course, are big contrasts. So let me quickly show you that with the Magpie Jan jacket that I have, because then I'll have some Chartreuse and the Fiddlehead and some Magpie all in one outfit. Here it comes. A Magpie Jan jacket with my Fiddlehead dress and my Chartreuse herringbone baggies. I think it's a beautiful combination. Let's see what I can come up with next. Now, for me, a combination like this is really exciting. As I showed you the royalty with the black currant baggies and the large new check smock, then that's a beautiful combination. It all kind of pulls together. The colors from the dress come back in the smock, but here we see a bit of combination, but then big contrast, because of course the smock, the large new check, has got Magpie blue in it, as does the dress. But then the dress also has Chartreuse, which of course is a total color clash. Is kind of on the opposite of the scale from those muted sophisticated colors of the large new check smock. However, don't they just sing together? And that is of course because your eyes, you're not conscious of that, but your eyes pick up on the fact that there are similar tones in the dress than there are as what there are in the smock. And then of course you get that beautiful contrast with the black currant in the baggies. So it all pulls together, and that's what I always try to explain and always try to emphasize in what I write, what I talk about, and what I answer when people say, well, which color goes with which? And that was very much the kind of question that some of these outfits aim to answer, because my answer tends to be pretty much all of it goes with everything else. And that is because I make these color choices when I have different colors woven. So by having a combination of well-chosen contrasts and well-chosen overlaps, you end up almost, as I call it, being able to pick blind from your wardrobe, grab 2 garments, put them all together and go like, whoa, that looks pretty good. So I hope this illustrates that as well. I hope you can also see what a very exciting color Fiddlehead is, because of that freshness and the kind of zing that the Chartreuse brings to the color. And then by the same token, that blue, which pushes the Chartreuse back a little bit, and that gives an overall color impression of a fresh green. But let's keep going. I will pump up the black currant, because of course that's been a really popular color in the last couple of months. So what does a black currant smock look like together with the black currant baggies and then this dress? Let's have a look. And here it is. What do we think? Black currant baggies and smock, and a Fiddlehead love dress. Baggies long large, smock size 2, Fiddlehead dress size 2 regular. So you can see how the lengths of these combine and compare with each other. So keep going. Here comes another one. And here is Brick. Bit of a hidden gem within the Layercake lineup. We've had Brick for years, and I don't ever give it any limelight, and there's no really good reason for it, because it is stunning. It is a soft, slightly rusty red, slightly orangey red. Is that fair? Not sure. It's got more pink in it than orange, I think. Anyway, it's a soft red and then a cross-woven with the green that is in colors like apple and peacock and moss and moth, and in bitter lime, of course. So I will definitely show this dress with the bitter lime trousers as well, because of course they've got that green in common, and then bitter lime has got a tobacco blue, and this has got a soft red in it. But another combination that goes beautifully with the black currant smock and baggies. And I will also quickly put on the large new check smock again, so that you can see how Brick plays with large new check, in case you have any large new check items that you're looking to complement. Here it comes. And here it is, Brick with black currant and large new check. Now, the colors in Brick and the colors in black currant and in large new check have got absolutely nothing in common. But I mean, look at this together. The contrast of the soft colors in Brick as a backdrop for the muted colors within the smock. I think it's another combination of pick it blind and it'll just look good. So let's keep going though, because I promised the palazzos in bitter lime and haven't showed those yet, so here they come. So here's the same outfit with the bitter lime palazzos, and here it is. First with the large bright check. Of course there are a whole bunch of checks in here that go beautifully with these two colors, because they're in the large bright check. And then here it is with Chartreuse. Another lovely combination, not quite as exciting in terms of contrasts, but a beautiful combination, all a little bit calmer, although the Chartreuse is bright enough, as probably as bright as we get it to be honest. And of course I can also just have the dress with the palazzos. You don't need a contrast to go with it. This, like it is a wonderful combination, great outfit, and very comfortable, as you know. And then of course, if you do want to wear something over the top but not a layer cake, then any kind of cardigan or a jumper or a top underneath will add to the outfit as well. However, I'm going to go one step further before I introduce the next color, the fourth color, and that is I go a bit more contrast and in a different direction than we've gone so far this episode. Here it comes. Contrast number one. This is Magenta in a step top. I haven't seen a step top here for a while, not since we introduced the large new check. And also magenta baggies. These are the regular length baggies, so they're cropped on me, but you still have them peeping out, as you can see, from a dress plenty. So if you don't want to go full length with the trousers that you wear underneath your dresses, then this is a good option. And if the regular baggy length is full length on you, then because of the kind of elastic that we use, you can roll them up a couple of times at the top, and then of course that brings them up a little bit, and you'll find that that kind of stays in place during the day. So this is how the different colors affect each other, where the brick almost goes brown against the brightness of the pink in magenta. So you get almost a brownish impression, which again, I think is really exciting, especially when you see, if you look up close, that there is a very pinkish red in this fabric. So you see it up close, and in the cross weave, you can see that contrast a lot better. And then from a distance, it's more brown again. I love that those kind of seeming contradictions that end up not being that contradictory at all when you look at them up close. But let me introduce one other bright color with the brick dress that I thought deserved some limelight, especially those two against each other. I haven't actually put them on together yet, so we may have a clanger on our hands, but it would be a bit of a first to see that. So I dare do this. Let's do it. So two things I want to show you here. First of all, brick together with blood orange. Yeah, I like that. Of course, brick has got the pinkish red and blood orange has got magenta in it. But because of the colors in blood orange, and then with magenta I've pulled the baggies down so you can see them a little bit. That's very sugary sweet there at the bottom. Very bright but very sweet color. So if I make those baggies disappear, it ends up affecting the entire outfit. So I'll pull the baggies up further than the bottom of my long tulip dress. This is the long dress, and you can see it's almost down to my ankles, size 2 long. I can't for the life of me fit into a size 1 tulip dress anymore because the armholes are a little bit bigger, a little bit higher, so smaller armholes. The bust circumference is about the same, but I can't get any extra bust circumference out of the armholes like I can with like a size 1 smock, for example. So no way I can fit into a size 1 tulip dress at the moment. I'm doing something about it though. 1st of February was my start date. So hopefully you'll see me go down in weight a little bit again. And it's not because I'm ashamed of my weight. It's purely because I do feel healthier when I'm a bit lighter. So watch this space, she said. But anyway, a size 2 long in the blood orange and worn over the brick love dress. A proper new discovery, rediscovery, this brick. Let me know what you think of it. Anyway, on to color number 4, because we've only done 3 and this is already turning into a super long recording. I can't really help it though. It's kind of, I just go with my own flow. Bear with me. Here comes Pistachio. Pistachio in a size 1 regular length. You see, more neat around the bust, but also more likely to catch my hips at this weight in the back. See what I mean with that? So, of course, it's a personal choice, but don't just consider the front of you when you look in the mirror and you're standing up, you're holding everything in, but also consider what happens to your body when you sit down, you relax, and you kind of puddle into your clothes. And does it still feel as comfortable and look as neat then? And if not, then consider sizing up. I'm not just always advocating to size up because I've sized up myself, but because it's not just what you see in the mirror when you're standing up and holding everything in. That is the same as what other people see in the impression that things make to other people. So be aware of the way your body moves and the way it looks from different angles before you decide which size is best. Smaller is not always better. So let me show this with the large new check smock, because that is a really, really nice combination. The softness of pistachio, but the fact that there's a greenish color in it really picks up on the green tones in the large new check. I'll show you. So however excited I am about big contrasts, when I see something like this, I also go like, ooh, very nice. And that is because, of course, there is a darker blue-green. There's the Magpie in here. And then cross-woven with natural. It goes much lighter and it really ekes towards the colors that make up the pistachio dress. I love this together. Here it is as well with a herringbone, which makes me remember that the herringbone baggies will look fantastic with this outfit as well. I haven't got any to show you, but they basically look like this square. This is herringbone in a cross weave of natural undyed linen and Magpie. And don't they just look stunning together? Anyway, the black slackers that I've got on, I forgot to mention, I think. This is the full-length slackers. It's the only pair of full-length slackers that I have at the moment, because we're about to start the production of them this week. So slackers in black, and the shorter slackers that I already showed you in mist, which of course would also be wonderful with this outfit because it brings back the lighter colors from the smock. But let me show you some other combinations for pistachio. I haven't changed out of the slackers yet. I still have this black slackers on, but just to show you that what is worn at the bottom doesn't have to reflect the colors on top. Black, of course, is always a great base color. But what I'm wearing here, of course, is the black currant smock against the pistachio. And I think out of all the color combinations that we've got at the moment, this must be my favorite. I have no idea why I am so drawn to the combination of that duck egg in pistachio and the red purple that is in black currant, but I think it is stunning together, so I was very keen to show you. But let me show you some more contrast with pistachio as well, because of course we can take it in a different direction. This is a rivulet play suit from last summer. Remember rivulet? It is a combination, a cross weave of that duck egg with Magpie blue. And this, the pistachio, is that same duck egg color, but cross woven with the gray that is in our charcoal. So when in doubt, you can always base the combination of the different colors that you wear by making sure that those different colors have one color in common. So for example, rivulet and pistachio, of course, look wonderful together. In case you think, hey, that looks like rivulet, here you can see the difference. Rivulet is darker because the Magpie blue in it is darker, and pistachio is lighter because of that medium gray that it's cross-woven with. If I then add charcoal to this, I'll do that in a minute. I'll put a charcoal smock or tabard, I'll see what I've got in my size, over the top. Then of course that gray that is in pistachio comes back in the smock or tabard together with black. So that's then another great combination to wear with the rest of this outfit. Here it comes. Great example of soft colors, more muted, not as bright, not as loud. Charcoal mini tabard in a size 2, worn over size 1 love dress in the regular length, and that is worn over size 2 summer play suit in the regular length as well. Now, summer play suit, I say, let me do the story of the 2 linen weights that we do, because I need to point out that there's difference in weight between the dresses. The pistachio and the brick are the winter weight, or the heavier weight. Winter weight and summer weight is not really fair. to call them that. It's more thicker and hard wearing or thinner and more airy. In most cases, you can wear the thicker weight in all but the hottest days and hottest climates, and you can wear the medium weight in all but the coldest days. And of course, when you layer the medium weight, then you can wear that year round as well. The whole story with having two weights started with the fact that we started with the tunics, which were meant to be worn like an apron over the top of your regular clothes, all in that very heavy weight linen. And that's very heavy by fashion standards. It is not a very thick fabric, but it's very densely woven and it's hard wearing. The medium weight is just as densely woven, but it's a slightly thinner thread that it's been woven with. In terms of difference, there's about a 20% difference. So the medium weight is 20% thinner than the heavy weight. In terms of actual grams, the heavy weight is 245 grams, the medium weight is 200 grams. If you go out and buy a white linen shirt somewhere, it'll normally be either 150 grams or 180 grams. So even our 200 grams linen is already stronger and heavier than most of the linen out there. And that's partially because of its dense weave. That's also why our linen doesn't really crease the way you're used to from cheaper linens. And it also partially explains the price. Of course, your garments are all made in the UK, so people are being paid fairly, but they're also woven in the EU and to a very, very, very high standard within the fashion industry. So that about the weight. So the pistachio is the heavy weight and the brick is the heavier weight. Then the other three colors, so royalty, fiddlehead, and now also the new black currant are in the medium weight. The blackcurrant garments that you've bought so far throughout the winter, so the baggies and the step tops, for example, the smocks, the tabards, they were all in the heavier weight, but now the dress is coming through in the medium weight. And speaking of dress, maybe I should finally show it to you. I've left it to last because you've seen so much blackcurrant from me in the last couple of months. So I thought I should give the other colors the preview first, but here finally is blackcurrant. Blackcurrant first with a contrast in the back to the palazzos in the bitter lime. Such a good contrast and such a good base color, the bitter lime, for lots of other layer cakes. I will add the large bright check to this, that sleeveless duster, the Synergy duster, so that you can see what the large bright check does next to blackcurrant, because I don't know whether I've shown that combination yet in the previous episodes. Here it comes. So blackcurrant in itself, of course, quite a striking color, is really pushed a little bit to the background here by the combination of the palazzos in bitter lime together with all the different blues and greens and lots of other colors that you see in the large bright check. But just to demonstrate, it's a lovely combination. Of course they go together. One or two more and then I'll finally draw it to a close. Enough for today. So first of all, a smock in fig. Fig and blackcurrant love each other for obvious reasons. They have the same purple in them. Fig with that same medium grey that's in the charcoal and in the pistachio, and blackcurrant in a cross weave with black. So of course fig and pistachio are lovely together as well. Back to those softer colors, but here you can also see the softness of fig against the slight brighter purple, purpley black eggplant it's called, isn't it? Eggplant, or oh, of course now I can't remember the English name for it. I'll put it down below. Mine's gone completely blank. This episode is far too long. But I have one more combination to show you and then I'll finally sign off. So, oh, I've put the black slackers back on. I forgot to say that as well. One more. Aubergine. Eggplant and aubergine. And here, last but not least, in emerald green, this is a tail smock, and it's size 1. So I'm wearing a size 1 love dress and a size 1 tail smock, and despite the hippiness, because the tail smock of course is loose here, where with the dress I may end up really catching my hips on the fabric, that would not happen with the tail smock because it's loose. So it just hangs like a curtain over that whole back part of my body, and as a result I don't have to be self-conscious about those fat hips. So that's one thing that I wanted to highlight, but most importantly I wanted to show the color. So a relatively new color as well, of course, the emerald, and emerald against black currant, another beautiful color combination, go really well together. So enough for today, I think. Thank you very much for bearing with me if you've watched all the way through to this end. I promise I won't go on forever next time. I hope. Anyway, I will hope to see you again soon.